Hi everyone, it's Agata from Simply Grow, and today we're going to have a very special chat with Susan Wallace from Settled Petals. So I'm just going to wait for Susan to join us. It's the first time I'm doing Insta Live chat, so just going to quickly wait for Susan to join us. Hiya! Oh, Settled Petals are here, so let me just quickly see. There we go. Be live in just a minute. I just forgot to do one thing, so I'm just going to quickly just realized I wanted to record the conversation. Hi Susan.
Hi, sorry, there we are.
No, you're right. I just realized as soon as it started going live that I forgot to press the recording button to record the conversation. Had a slight panic.
Oh, perfect.
It should all be good now. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, that's right. You look lovely. You look glowing.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I'm
A bit of rest. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Very good. How are you finding this these days? Because obviously it's a bit of a tricky time.
Yeah, in some ways, I think it's probably a lot easier for me than it is maybe with people who've got babies and also trying to work full time. Because I can work full time, and it's a lot easier when you're pregnant, and that I'm not trying to compete with too many things. And also staying in the house, although you're missing out on a lot of people and a lot of different things, it's also a good time to have a bit of relax when I know the realities of what coming being a sleep consultant. So
absolutely,
so there's definitely things that we're missing out on, but we're absolutely fine. So
yeah,
it's all good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I just started kind of really quickly, but we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm just waiting for a few people to join us. So we've got a few people watching us now. So I'm just going to quickly introduce ourselves, if that's okay. So for those of you who don't know us, my name is Agata and I run Simply Grow. So these are different sensory experiences for the little ones, but also lots of content around personal growth. Because as we know, once you become a parent, even before, but especially when you can become a parent, there's so much personal growth going on. You kind of realize there are so many things you just need to really work on personally as a human being, kind of all those things around even being patient. So some things you maybe haven't have to do as much before. And Susan, would you like to introduce yourself? Because I'm sure that there'll be some things you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Susan. I'm from Settled Petals, and I run baby massage, baby yoga, and I'm also an infant sleep consultant and a potty training consultant as well.
Fantastic. And we've met before because we were planning to do a little project together, but then life kind of got in the way a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got something to look forward to when this is all over. So there'll be a joint Simply Grow and Settle Petals lovely nurturing experience, which I think everyone will be ready for when we come out the other side of this.
Definitely. That's something to look forward to. But also you've got a personal story to look forward to. When are you due? Okay.
August. So just over 22 weeks now. So it's hard to even imagine August when you don't really know what the world's going to be looking like and everything like that. But it's nice to have something to look forward to through it all.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're very positive in that whole situation as well, because I read your blog post. You posted recently about your experience of pregnancy and kind of tips to give mums to be on how to cope in that difficult time. Would you mind sharing a few of those with us?
Yeah, so there was a few things. I think it's very easy just to kind of get a bit bogged down in your own house and different things. And I had noticed there was a few nights, even just with like sleeping and different things, you were like, my goodness, this isn't just how it usually is. But I started going out on the one walk every day and then coming home and doing, there's loads of free pregnancy yoga.
Oh, really?
So I do one of those every evening. Yeah, you can log in on the on the television and have one come up. So I've just been doing that every evening, and it's been so nice just to be able to have a bit of a sleep and feel like you're doing something useful to prepare for the baby coming, and also just for your hips and back. But I think when you're kind of, you know, when you find out you're pregnant, you think, oh, I'm going to be going to pregnancy yoga and I'm going to be going around the shops and going to do all these expectant things, and you feel like you've lost out a little bit on them. So anything you can kind of do. So I kind of found doing that was quite helpful for me, and also sticking to a bit of a routine. So I am able to do some of my work from home, which is really good, and trying to do that 9 to 5. So you've got your evenings to relax. And also there's little things you can practice. So if you're planning on using, say, a baby carrier and your baby comes out and you're overwhelmed with a whole lot going on, and you're suddenly trying to work out on YouTube how to wrap the wraps. So you can be spending this time, you know, if you've got some of those things, giving it a little try, get YouTube videos out. Same with swaddling, and we have to make sure swaddles are safe. But if that's something that you're planning to do, you can use this time, and also just sorting out the house, just trying to find space for where everything's going to go. So so that's quite good. So any of those things, people are different and have different things, but if people have an idea of how they are kind of wanting to parent, you can have a little think in advance and use this time to kind of prepare for that when you've got the space to do.
I love this idea of kind of trying to swaddle and trying to use the baby carrier before. I think that's really, really helpful, something I probably haven't thought about when I was pregnant. But also I found that you are now offering the newborn settling resource, which I think might be really helpful to some parents, because I know that you can read all the books, you watch all the films, listen to all the advice when you're pregnant, but actually it's such a massive experience when you become a parent that nothing can prepare you for that. But actually having little kind of signposts of what to expect, I think that's a fantastic thing to have. So I've noticed you've got that, and there's a little discount code. So would you mind telling us about it?
That's right. So when I would work with a lot of particularly newborn parents, a lot of people will say to me, oh my goodness, I just wasn't prepared for this. You know, people are thinking we're going to go to the baby groups and we're going to look lovely out for coffee and all of those things, and then the baby comes along and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I bought all the things and I just don't know how to make this baby stop crying, or why are they crying? Is it something I'm doing? And so I created a newborn online course, and so it's quite easy. It's like a resource. You work through each section, and it tells you a lot about, you know, what is colic, what is cow's milk protein allergy, what is wind, what is reflux, all the things you've maybe heard, and also little ideas of how to try and settle your baby in that time. So obviously for young babies, we're not trying to get them to sleep for long periods of time, because they won't. But there are little things that you can do to make life easier, and also it's quite realistic. So it's not trying to say if you do this your baby's going to sleep 7 to 7. They won't. But if you've had a baby crying for a few hours and you're thinking, why are they crying, how do we do, I've tried to cover all the main points in that, so it's usually £20, but there's an online discount at the minute of 10, it's only £10, so it's 50% off, and it's sort of thing, so you can read it in your own time, particularly if you're pregnant now and you're thinking what's ahead,
what else can I do to prepare.
Exactly, that you can have a little look, and even some of the products that I suggest, so like things like slings or white noise machines.
I've read that. That's a brilliant advice as well. And actually, I have to definitely second that, because when I was pregnant with Amy, Amy's 3.5 now. When I was pregnant with her, I used to listen to about halfway through pregnancy. There are certain kind of playlists with calm music I was listening to. And as soon as she was born, kind of 2 minutes after she was born, I asked my husband to play one of those tunes on his phone. And I swear that she reacted to it, even though it was 2 minutes after she was born. I swear she recognized it. And maybe it was just me, but I really think, you know, there's so much research providing evidence that everything that babies listen to when they're still in the womb, they do remember that. It's definitely there. So I really like this idea.
Yeah, definitely. So white noise, you know, people would know quite a lot. It's very, very good for soothing children. Now, my advice is if you've got a little baby, make sure that it's continuous white noise and it's not looping. So I'm not a big fan of the movement or sensory or white noise that the baby has to move or make a noise to get. If it's running through the night, it's going to be much easier. But I started having that on all night for myself anyway. White noise isn't just for children. It can help sleep right throughout. throughout. So
All right.
I'm now playing the white noise all throughout the night. So the idea is it can help me sleep, and then when I switch it on, hopefully the baby will recognise it and think brilliant. And also the same, like that you're saying, just playing a little bit of nice music. So when your baby's trying to make the transition from being inside the cozy womb to the world, if you can play something that's familiar that you've been playing every day, that can be really nice for settling as well. And it also means that when you're a bit stressed at this time, nobody knows what's going on with the current situation. If you say, I'm going to have 5 minutes for my baby to listen to this music, you're actually sitting doing nothing listening to the music, which is also really helpful for you as well for keeping calm and looking forward.
One more thing I remember what I was doing when I was pregnant with Amy. I used to have this time in the evening before going to bed when I was reading my favorite stories from when I was a child. I was just reading them out loud. There was one in Polish, one in English, kind of swapping it. So just that's lovely. So I think, as you say, it's quite a nice thing to do even for yourself, kind of puts you in this right state of mind. It's kind of probably a form of mindfulness as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's giving you 5 minutes where you've got a task, but that task is just sitting, listening, relaxing. So I think it's positive for you, and if it works for your baby when they come out and it settles them, bonus, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I was kind of taking notes before the conversation. I wanted to talk about potty training, but I think it's a nice kind of follow-up now to kind of go into sleep and leave potty training at the end, if that's okay, because we had a couple of questions around sleep from people who saw our posts, letting everyone know about the conversation today. But you already mentioned different things that you offer around sleep. But if someone would like to get some advice from you, is it just the online resources, or is it just one-to-one advice from you? How does it work?
Yeah, both. So I'm trying to have something for everyone. Some people really like me to work them through a plan. So I have one-to-one, which is quite in-depth support, and parents contact me. I find out quite a lot about what's been going on. Then we do a consultation. Now that used to be either in the home or remotely. So everything is remote at the moment. So it's either via video or telephone. And then people get 2 weeks support. So every day they tell me what's going on, and every day I tell them what we can kind of be doing. So that option's available. And then there's some people prefer to have the information but don't want the more personalised support. So I have now got 2 new sleep resources online, which basically has everything, of all the families I've worked with, it's all the major things, and it's not a set schedule, so it's not do this at this time and do this at that, because children are different, but it's more about empowering parents for you to understand how sleep works, and what might work for your child and what suits your parenting style, and that those are both 50% off at the moment, so they're only £15. But if you decide, so one's for age 4 months to 18 months, one's from 19 months up to about 40 months for toddlers. So if somebody goes on to that and goes through and then thinks, I still am not quite sure about the schedule or if I got this right, you can purchase top up phone calls with me, so you can give a wee call and then I send you an email of what we've discussed, saying that this is the schedule I think would work from what you've told me, or different things. So I try to have something for everyone. I would usually do sleep workshops, but at the moment we're not really running those, so hopefully the online will be something that can help people in the meantime as well.
Sounds fantastic. I really like the idea, the fact that it's all personalized. So obviously, as you say, different people like different things will work. And I really like the idea also, the fact that you don't really call it a training, because I personally am quite opposed to any kind of training, even with potty training. I know we use that a lot, but the kind of training of your child is quite something that probably just that the kind of language describes our reality. So if someone wants to train their child, it's probably not the best approach. But I love the idea, that it's so personalized, and as you said, you can't just expect your baby to respond to different, almost like routine straight away set that you work with you kind of have to make yourself flexible. We had, because I know that with sleep you kind of learn all of that once baby is born. We had a question about sleep cycles. So one mom asked how to stitch sleep cycles together to minimize nightly wake-ups. Does it make sense? Yeah,
no, that makes sense. So I'll say a little bit about what a sleep cycle is and what that means first.
That'd be great.
So the hypothesis is, if we were in deep sleep all night, we would have woken up beautifully restored every morning, but we'd be very vulnerable. So if you had an unmet need, so you were thirsty or you had a cough or you were unwell or something unsafe came in your environment, you wouldn't be waking to get yourself to safety or to meet your need if you need it. But if we were in light sleep all night, we wouldn't have woke up restored at all. We would have still been exhausted by morning, but we would have been much safer. So the hypothesis is every night we run through what's called a sleep cycle, which is well, after the age of 16 weeks, it's 4 stages of sleep, ranging from deep to light. And at the end of every sleep cycle, we do a little assessment to think, am I safe? Do I have any unmet needs? So little babies can maybe have tiny little sleep cycles that are like 20 minutes, and they'll maybe go up. Toddlers might be coming closer to an hour. So everyone's is different. You'll have a good idea about your own child from when they kind of stir at a nap. So as children get older, their ability to consolidate a whole lot of sleep cycles together becomes more. So a little baby can't do that. And one of the reasons that they can't is, say you've got a newborn baby, they have these tiny stomachs. So when they've gone through their sleep cycle, and we do a little assessment at the end to think, before I go to the next sleep cycle, is there anything that I need? So your tiny baby is probably going to be like, yes, there's something I need because I'm hungry or I'm thirsty or I'm cold or this world is just so overwhelming.
Or I need you.
Yeah. So in that instance, they absolutely need us to be looking after them and getting them from one sleep cycle to another. Now, as they get a little bit older, there's quite the needs reduce unless they're teething or they're sick or there's something going on. So a lot of the parents I work with, what our aim is if the child has an unmet need, so it could be a 6-month-old who still needs 2 feeds a night, we want them to call at the end of each sleep cycle, us to go and meet the need and to go back to sleep. Now, different parents have different values on this. So some parents are quite happy that every sleep cycle and could feel quite passionately that they are going to support their child through. Others, their aim is if the child has no unmet needs, they want their child to link the sleep cycle by themselves. So it's very dependent on parenting style, what you kind of want. But the general rule is whatever you supply at the start of your sleep, that is what you need to supply for each sleep cycle. So if you feed to sleep, when your baby wakes between sleep cycles, and they all do, they will do a little assessment of any unmet needs. If the answer is still no, but there's no feed available, they will need to call for another feed to link their sleep cycles up. So you basically need whatever's at the start of the night. So things like rocking to sleep, feeding to sleep, those are all great ways that parents can come and help the child link. Now, what I think the question that the ladies may be asking is, how do you get a child to do that independently? And if they have no unmet needs, so that they're doing that by themselves. So what we need to do is create, if that's your aim, and for some people it is, or some people it isn't, and the child is old enough, so maybe they're 6 months and they've had a feed at their last one, and we know that there's a sleep cycle where they're not requiring anything, and we need to supply whatever you supplied at the start of the night. So if you're in if you're rocking your children from one sleep cycle to the other, we would have to rethink, is there a way that we can kind of create a different environment at night, just in the final moments they go to sleep? And it's very dependent on what is being provided now and what a parenting style is of what's the best way to go about that. So for example, sometimes a dummy, if a dummy's in the mouth at the start of the night and then it falls out at 1 o'clock and they call and there's nothing, that you've tried feeding the baby, you've checked that everything is fine, they just want this dummy put back in. And we have to kind of, in that one, if we want the child to do it independently, we've got 2 choices. We either teach the child to put the dummy back in themselves, so when they wake they just do that, or we remove the dummy and teach them a different way to fall asleep at the start of the night, so they can all link up. So there'll be even the child that looks like, if you know somebody and they've said, oh, my baby sleeps through the night from 7 to 7, they won't, they
just want to strangle them.
Yes, and you will will be. I know it's very hard if your child isn't sleeping, and everyone likes to tell you how much theirs is, but that child is not sleeping from 7 to 7. They are waking and they're putting themselves back to sleep. Now what happens is the way hormones work, most babies will sleep quite soundly, maybe from 7 to 11, 8 to 12, and it's after that that the sleep cycles start waking. So maybe every other one, so maybe every hour and a half, a child who needs support to get from one sleep cycle to the other will wake. So that's very much dependent on a parenting style, whether you being there and supporting them through is important to you, or whether you're just to the point that it's become unsustainable and you're starting to feel that your emotional and physical health are really finding it difficult to do this, or actually your baby is so tired because your baby can't get back to sleep. And most families, when they come to me, they're saying, actually, I'm noticing my baby's just exhausted through the day. We can't go to the groups because they're just completely overwhelmed. And how can we kind of help them with this? So just dependent on what it is, but the general rule is provide at the start of a sleep what you're prepared to do each sleep cycle. And if you need some help with that, our online sleep resources actually give you a whole lot of different ways to kind of support your child with that. So if it's something that you're aiming for, you can have a look and see which of the techniques fit your parenting style. So
fantastic. It sounds really, really good. Yeah. Is there just one that you could, I know that we want to refer people to the resources as well, but is there at least one thing you could suggest parents find consistently quite successful to start the sleep cycle with?
Well, the white noise is actually very good. So if you've maybe been say singing to your child every night, if you just stop that seconds before they go to sleep and put the white noise on, white noise is actually something that can help them carry from one sleep cycle to the other. So if you're putting them in to the cot and they're awake but they're nearly asleep, and you do whatever it is that they need, and just for those last few seconds just take your hand off and put the white noise on, then when they go from one sleep cycle to the other, the white noise is there. And that's why I'm not a fan of the motion sensor or sound sensor. Yeah, because if we want the same thing, that child's going into light sleep, and if the white noise is there continuously, they can actually think, oh, there's my white noise, straight back over. And if it's not, and they have to make movement or noise, we're actually teaching them that every time you wake up, you have to stir even more to get back to sleep, which doesn't make any sense when you know that. So I would have the white noise going continuously, and that's a really nice way. But if there's something else going on and you're wanting to maybe say, I can't rock my baby to sleep every single sleep cycle, or I can't feed, which is very much parental choice, then we might need to think, right, well, we need to move the feed or the rocking slightly earlier, only just a few minutes, seconds earlier, and put something else in that's sustainable. But white noise is one that works really well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure Mum who asked the question will be very happy with that. There was one more about the transition from cot to the toddler bed. And we had a question from Mum of 26-month-old boy, and he is still in his cot, and he is not trying to climb out of it. There's no signs that he wants to be somewhere else, but she's just wondering when you know that your toddler is ready to move out of that bed, and if he's not climbing out, is it okay to leave him there, or is there something she's doing wrong to keep him in it? So what would be your take on it?
No, I would say run with this. Brilliant. If you have a child that's happy in their cot, keep them in their cot. There's absolutely nothing that you're doing wrong, particularly if they're still happy to be there. I actually think about age 3 is a good time. If you can keep your child in a cot and they're happy and they're safe until they're 3, you're going to make your life a lot easier, because after the age of 3, you can talk a lot more to your child about kind of expectations, and if they stay in bed, if that's what you're wanting, and where below that it's actually quite tricky, and the only time below the age of 3 I actually recommend that you take them out of a cot and put them in a bed is if they're unsafe. And even then I would say make sure your base is at the very lowest, and you know the little sleep bags with no feet, they're actually really good, because it makes it harder for a child to straddle their leg outside of the cot. Saying that, I have come across children who are just unbelievably strong, and no matter what you do, we have to take them out of the cot earlier than that, because it's a health and safety risk. But
so you
if it's a
basically look,
very
if they
young
start
child,
climbing out, that's when, yeah.
yeah. So if they're climbing out and they're even at the lowest base, and even having them in a sleep still allowing them to do that, then I would move them earlier than 3. And if they're a very young child, I've come across some very strong young children, you might even want to start with a mattress on the floor before you progress to a toddler bed if they're quite young. But in that lady situation, if you have a little child who's 2 and they're happy in their cot, every day is a bonus. If you can get them to 3 like that, I would take it. It's going to make life a lot easier for you. So, and there's as long as they have enough room, they're absolute and they're safe. Brilliant. I would take
fantastic
that.
Yeah, so definitely I think that mom be happy with that too. I know you had a question as well, someone messaged you about the duration of naps. Was that the question?
Yeah, that's it. So I think it was a lady with a 5-month-old baby wondering how long naps should be. So what I would probably, there's a few things. So in this instance, the baby was 5 months, and I always look at wake time. So every time we're awake, this chemical arises in our brain called sleep pressure. And so every time we're awake, it goes up. Every time we're asleep, it goes down. Every time we're awake, it goes up. And it's just doing this. It's like a backwards petrol pump. It's kind of gauging how tired you are. And that's what lets your brain know that you're tired. If you have too much sleep pressure, the brain thinks, oh, there must be a reason I have to stay awake, and it releases cortisol, which is the wake-up hormone. So if you have your sleep pressure is too high, it actually makes it more difficult for you to fall asleep at your next sleep. Then when you fall asleep, your brain starts trying to clean the sleep pressure, and that actually causes more frequent night wakings as well as early rising. So what we need for a child to have good quality sleep, which is completely within their developmental range, we need children to have perfect sleep pressure, neither too high or too low by bedtime. So when I'm looking at naps, I'm more interested in how the sleep pressure is than the actual length of a nap. So at, say, age 5 months, you would be looking at a child only maybe be able to stay awake for about 2 hours, 15 minutes between each sleep. Anything over that, they start becoming overtired. It's going to make the next nap time much harder for them to go down, and it's probably going to interfere with their night's sleep as well. So if you have a child, so we talked a little bit about linking sleep cycles, who can link to, in an ideal world at 5 months, I would probably suggest that they wake up at whatever time you get them up, and then about 2 hours later do a nap. That nap might be anything from 1 hour to 2 hours. So my general rule would be from nap 1 and 2. For a 5-month-old, we're wanting it to be a combined total of about 3 hours. So some children respond beautifully to 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour, 2 hours, 15 minutes after. Other children only can do 45 minutes because they haven't quite learned to link their sleep cycles yet. So for the child who can link sleep cycles, we're maybe looking at 3 lovely naps, 2 of them being about an hour and a half, and then a little cat nap later, just to kind of keep them going and keep the sleep pressure right. But if your child can only manage, say, 40 minutes because they haven't learned to join them up, then we might actually be looking at 4 naps that day, because if it's an early riser and they've woken at 6 and the first nap is 8 to quarter to 9, and then we do another one at 11 to quarter to 11, you're never going to fit 3 in. So depending on how long they are, but as a general rule, I would cap all naps at 2 hours. And we always want bedtime between 6 and 8. So just to make the most of their natural hormones that are going on. So it does depend, but for the age 5 months specifically, I would be looking at about 2 hours, 15 minutes between each nap, rather than getting too focused on how long each individual nap is.
Okay, that sounds really, really good. I also had in the background here little feet. My window is finishing. We had a little break because our naps are long gone. Amy's 3.5. She doesn't obviously nap during the day now, but we try to have a little downtime in the middle of the day, especially after a busy morning. And we've been on the trampoline. I had to bounce on the trampoline all morning. I think I need a nap now.
But you know,
so she just had her little downtime. Yeah.
Both of those are perfect, because I actually recommend that for people who have toddlers and they've just dropped their nap. There's usually a transition period of about 2 weeks, some children up to a month, where they no longer require a nap, but they do still need some downtime. And with that, I would always say bring their bedtime down and try and have at least an hour downtime, as I would call it. So it's just something non-stimulating, that they're having a little rest, maybe up in their room with some books or colouring, and just so everything's not too stimulating. But it's also really nice, the trampoline. So there's two sorts of main personality types. Some of us love sensory activities. There, where that personality group are probably finding the current situation the hardest, because they need experiences, they need sensory. So your classes online are brilliant for that. And then we've got the ones who are sensory avoiding, who maybe don't like smells and different textures. So I actually recommend, if I can spot that there's a toddler with a sensory seeking personality, trampolines is actually something I actually can put into a sleep plan at times, and get them on the trampoline, because when they're lying in the bed, and you love sensory experiences, lying in the bed in the cot is very, very boring. So anyone, and I know you've got online at the moment for sensory classes for babies, so I'd recommend anyone whose baby needs that sort of stimulation, that at the minute, when they're not out even in supermarkets and hearing beeps and different things, that if they can go to the likes of your class, then it's brilliant.
I definitely agree, and I was saying a few times already that all of us can kind of find their own fix and find our own way in that situation. But with babies, they're always, people will think they're content because they're in their cot or they're in their bouncer and they're fine. But actually, as you say, they need that that input from outside. Even working with children, young people with profound multiple learning difficulties, that's often the case, that you just need to bring those experiences to them. And I feel that for babies, it's very much the same now, that we have to bring those experiences so they can learn from them. So, all those things, even you can find around the house, you wouldn't think that they might bring some learning, but actually they do. So whenever your baby sees, experiences anything new, it helps to build those new neural connections. So as you say, you have to do what you have to do now.
Absolutely. And even from a sleep point of view, you know yourself, if you've just sat all day, and there's probably been people have done that recently where they haven't done as much as maybe they'd like, and then you find it difficult to sleep that night, because we need sensory experiences as well. So getting out and doing a walk, or making or trying something new, or going on online and seeing what they're there is brilliant. So it's the exact same for babies. We need to be supplying that for them as well, and particularly at the moment when the activities are lacking so much, when we're literally confined to your own house.
Yeah, definitely. Just very briefly, because I noticed we've been chatting for half an hour already. It doesn't seem that long.
I know.
Time flies when you're having fun. But I know that with many people, they're probably thinking of using that time, kind of looking at the glass half full, and using that time to start potty training, because they are stuck in the house anyway. So would you recommend starting now when everyone is in lockdown and you have to stay at home? Would you say that it's the right time to start?
It's a great time as long as your child is ready. So, and there's a few things need to come together for potty training to work. And we need their bladder to be at a stage that they're able to send a message to their brain to let them know that it's full. And we also have to have the environment right. So if you start potty training too early, it can actually make life more difficult. If your child is showing signs that they're ready, this is actually a really good opportunity, because I always recommend for potty training that parents try for about the first 3 days to stay around the house anyway. And it just makes your life a lot easier, because the potty is right there. And if they have an accident, it's a lot easier to manage than if you're out on a car journey, or maybe they're at nursery or something like that. But it really comes down to if your child is ready. And I have a little checklist. So if anybody wants that from me, just go on Settled Petals and send me a little private message or an email, and I'll send you that. If there's no charge or anything, and you can have a little look. And if your child is showing signs that they are ready, then this is a brilliant time when you've got it. Now, saying that, if you're trying to work from home, and you're trying to homeschool another child and you have a new baby, I probably would put it on the back burner. If this is a good time for you, that also needs to be important, because your child might be ready, you might be at home, but you might be actually having to do about the job before people currently. So if you've got the time, then brilliant. And this could be a great time to start. But it just is on the premise that it suits both you and your child. I think children have now had about 2 weeks to kind of adjust. I think initially I was saying maybe don't start right away, where suddenly their nursery's gone and suddenly you're at home all the time and their whole routine has gone. But now this might be a good stage where actually they're maybe starting to get into a little bit of a routine at home. So this could be a good time, as long as your child's ready and as long as you've got the emotional and time capacity to give to that as well. But send me through a wee message and I can send you through the checklist. It'll give people a good idea if their child's at the right stage.
Oh, that's lovely. Is it is Instagram best or email? What's the best way to get in touch with you, Susan?
Either. I always keep a little eye on the private Instagram and Facebook and email, so either of those, and I can just send a little link through and you can do it's like a little quiz, so it tells you how many points your child has compared to what they're doing. And so if they're looking like they're in a good place for that, then that could be great.
Oh, fantastic. We can put that in the description for the video as well for everyone to get in touch. Lovely.
Perfect.
So I'm looking at the time and I can see that our downtime is nearly over. So now we have to wrap up. But I would like to ask you one final thing. I would like that to be a little series of conversations with different professionals and that can give us advice on babies and different things that can support parents and carers as well. And Simply Grow is all about kind of personal growth as well. So can I ask you, what would be the 3 things that you do to kind of grow as a person? Because everyone's got something different that helps you to kind of move forward and learn and be that kind of a growth mindset person. So are there 3 things that you would say you do to keep yourself going and learning more?
Well, I like to produce things, so I like making things. So I have a little sewing machine. I also make like homemade cosmetics and homemade soaps, and also would like grow little seeds and vegetables and different things like that. And I just like the idea that you're just not on your phone when you're doing any of those things, and you're just kind of at the task. And also I like the idea of having something and producing it into something nice and different.
Yeah, I love it.
So the first one's probably kind of doing those little activities. The second, I think, is just about keeping active. So I'd mentioned before about like doing a bit of yoga or a bit of walking, just to kind of get your brain a little bit of a change of scenery and get out and about. And then the third thing, I love information about things I'm interested in. So the likes of like sleep and potty training, I don't like to have an answer that I don't have. So if something comes to me and I think, my goodness, I thought I'd heard everything and now I haven't. I love like researching things, so I'm a bit of a geek in that way. So I like to find out what the research is saying or what different things are, and I also like to always be learning. So I usually am either making a new resource that I'm having to research, or I'm doing somebody else's course so I can learn a new skill.
I think we're similar in that way,
So there's just so much to learn, but I feel better if I feel that I've kind of got the answers. So I think they would probably be the 3 that work for me.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Hopefully, it's going to inspire someone else to maybe put their phone away and get creative with different things, start making things and growing things physically as well. But it was lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. All the best for August, but I'm sure we're going to chat before that as well.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to follow up this conversation with a little blog post as well. Maybe we can just sum it up for everyone. It's going to be available on Settled Petals website and Simply Grow as well. And we're probably going to try and catch up with you in a few months, hopefully.
Perfect. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, and all the best. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we're going to make it available on YouTube, and whoever didn't manage to catch up straight away, can do it after. I'm just noticing because I've got the screen thing that records the screen, and I had some notifications coming up from the house party app, you know, when it shows that someone is in the
Yeah.
house. So there were a few people in the house, so you will be able to watch that as well.
Yeah, perfect.
But thank you so much, and all the best, Susan. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.